Welcome to the Handcrafted Podcast, the business of making things. I'm Paul, founder of Philadelphia Table Company and the Handcrafted Network, and I believe great craftsmanship deserves great business strategy. This podcast is for makers who want to build not just great products, but a thriving business. Each episode will dive into the mindset, systems, and skills that turn craft into success. All right, guys, welcome back to the Handcrafted Podcast. Hope everybody's been doing great. Quick reminder, I will be at the Texas Woodworking Festival down in Austin, Texas, September 25th to the 27th. I will be doing 3 different sessions, both Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'd love to see you there. If you're a member of the Handcrafted Network community, I know we're sort of coordinating something to be able to meet and hang out, all that stuff. And if you're not, send me an email, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. Would love to see you, meet you, all that sort of stuff. And just a quick reminder, this podcast is brought to you by the Handcrafted Network. It's an online community of makers that are doing it. They are part-time guys and girls. They are full-time guys and girls. And I just posted a thing, hey, what are you working on? And it's amazing to see all of the projects that everybody's working on throughout the group. It's been really inspiring to me as a maker, and I think it's been inspiring to everybody else to sort of see, hey, we can do this. And it's just a great place to connect. It's a great place for resources. It's a great place to learn, ask questions, and just get the moral support that you need. So if you're interested in joining, we're doing the summer special of a 7-day free trial. Again, once you sign up, you'll get directed to do a phone call with me. We get to do just a little one-on-one hangout, coaching, whatever it is that you're kind of thinking. I help point you in the right direction. We talk through a lot of this stuff, and it's been really great getting to know people that way. So look forward to seeing you in the group. There's a link below in the info section of the podcast and in the below section in YouTube. So with that said, I've been talking to a lot of people about this, and I want to talk about 5 ways to be better at sales. And a lot of times I'm talking to people and they're saying, hey, why am I not really getting the sales that I need? What is the sort of formula for closing, all that sort of stuff. So I want to break down 5 things that I do every day as I do sales. This is somebody we do $166,000, $170,000, $200,000 of sales a month, and solely run through me. So this is a little bit of a quick little 5 tip masterclass on how to escalate your sales. Tip number 1, quick reply. I'm always about being the first person to reply. I know it's tough sometimes. Sometimes a lot of these inquiries come in while you're sitting on the couch. They'll come in while you're sort of, working, building stuff, sanding, all that sort of stuff. What's important is to really pay attention to a lot of that stuff. And the quick reply doesn't necessarily need to be an answer right away. It doesn't need to be a quote right away. It could be a simple thing that just says, hey, thanks so much for the email. I saw it. I'm going to take a look at it. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I want some time to think about this. So when people are reaching out to you for sort of custom projects, it's kind of twofold. Number 1, they're a big fan of the brand. They're a big fan of what you're doing. Those are the number 1. Those are the best kind of people. Those people, the quick reply doesn't matter a ton, but going back to what I said yesterday, the quick reply sort of shows that you are engaged and that you are the company they want to work with. So talking about how good your craft is, to me, that quick reply thing is just as important as how good the final piece is of the product. So for me, that's sort of what that craft element is. And there's really good kind of a few quick replies that I think could be really helpful. So some things where it's do you have inspiration images? Do you have dimensions? Do you have photos of the space? All of these sort of things you can ask that sort of create a little bit of a buffer, like a time thing. So it feels like you're engaged, it feels like you're responding, but at the same time, you're kind of delaying the message till tomorrow or till when you can get to it. So I have a thing on my website that's like a text to chat kind of thing. And a lot of people are shopping I'm in the furniture world, so a lot of people are shopping for furniture when they're kind of at home after work. 5 o'clock outside of business hours, which is kind of annoying. But what happens is I have an app, it pings me. And usually what I'll do is in those after hours, like something where it's like, hey, thanks so much. And it's not auto reply. I make sure that I'm actually physically typing it, sometimes even intentionally with typos so they know it's not a bot, where I say, hey, thanks so much for the message. Can't wait to dive into this. I'll get back to you tomorrow. Another one that I'll do is like, hey, do you have any photos of sort of the space? Do you have any thoughts in what you are kind of thinking about? All of that sort of stuff. So those quick replies can go a long way. Number 2, track the people that are coming in. You need to either set up an online CRM, you need to do it by hand, you need to do it, I don't really care, write it on your wall, but you need to be tracking all the sales that are coming in. I do it a number of ways, so I have it a few redundancies. I have a few automated systems that I've set up that track into a CRM, that track to a Google spreadsheet, as well as I also have like a running sort of like written one, just so I could kind of keep it top of mind. Sometimes that's a little easier for me, building things and making things with your hand. For some reason, sometimes doing things analog just feels more natural and more right to me. So making sure you are keeping track. The thing I really like about an online CRM is you're able to write notes in there. So when I say track, it's not just like, John Smith requested blah, 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 but it's also like John Smith and then all the information about the project. So it's like, looking for this table, moving in August, the table is located here, thinking of Walnut, all this stuff. So when you do reference them or do talk to them, when we get to step 5, you'll see you have all the information on hand. You have the sort of like the information you need to feel engaged, to feel like you are interested, like you care, like you're listening, all of that sort of stuff. That's all super important, because what you're doing in the early days of the sales process is you're building trust. As makers, we're all building something from nothing. They're not going out to our online store like sneakers and just clicking buy, right? So what they're doing most of the time is, for us especially, they're trusting us to make something out of nothing. I'm telling them what we're doing and they need to trust us. So I need to develop their trust with those 2 things so far, which is a quick reply, and number 2, by tracking and keeping track of all their information. Number 3, talk story. So we talked about this in a podcast episode. I think it was 2 podcast episodes ago. If somebody reaches out to me and they're like, hey, love this table, how much is it at this length? There's 2 responses. You could say, that's going to be $7,000, or you can say, thank you so much for the inquiry. That piece is made out of solid walnut. It was custom commissioned for a client in Colorado. And you build a story around the specific piece. I would love to make a custom piece just for you. I know you mentioned 78, but we can scale and do whatever sort of size you want. With all of that said, it comes with drawings made by single makers in our shop, and the pricing comes in at $7,000. So what I'm doing is I'm building a story around what it is. The quick auto reply just allows them to quickly tune out. And what you want to do is get them engaged. And that's with you're doing like an email thing. Yesterday, I met with somebody in person who came to the shop. And the entire time we were talking story. I was telling them about all the various different pieces we've done, he was asking me how I started this. So having a conversation around a piece in any way that you can. Of course, a lot of you guys get inquiries, via Facebook Messenger or email and all that stuff, and it's a little hard to engage and sort of talk story that way. But you need to find your own way to incorporate story into this. Don't just throw a price out. What's going to happen is they're just going to be, okay, thanks, see you later. You want to engage in the conversation. The other thing that's really helpful when talking the story is you tell the story and then you ask sort of a question at the end. You ping it back to them so it becomes a little bit more of a dialogue. If you just say $7,000 period, the conversation's over. There's nowhere to go from there. So what I like to do is I'll just say, hey, this is sort of the price. What kind of room are you thinking of putting this in? Where are you located? How big is your family? Or how many seats are you trying to do? And I try to put that back on them. Or like, what is your aesthetic? Do you prefer natural walnut? Do you like white oak? Trying to find ways to create a little bit of a conversation. Which brings me to tip number 4. Sales is about sort of improvising. It's not a matter of, such and such formula. A lot of people have been asking me, somebody in the group actually said, hey, can you do a thing on closing techniques or closing lines that you can do? And I thought about it for a really long time. And it's really hard. Actually, somebody else in the group chimed in and shared kind of what their thoughts were. And I was like, wow, that like absolutely nailed it. With closing, it's a little bit more of a dance. It's improvising. It's a matter of like finding ways to communicate with people that are, you know, in meeting them where they want to be met. Like some people do respond okay to the like, hey, just checking in, how's the project coming along? Sometimes people go, oh, it's thank you for checking in. It's been crazy. I've been so busy. You know, I really valued that. Other people will tune out when you do that. And it's a matter of like sort of feeling it. And then some people like that where you need to do the follow-up. The follow-up might be a matter of like, you know, how's your construction project coming? Simple. Or can't wait to see photos of the kitchen. Are they done? And using sort of like, it's a little bit more of a dance. Some people want to be very wordy. Some people want to talk on the phone. Some people want to text back and forth quickly or email back and forth quickly. Other people don't want that. So it's a matter of sort of doing this improvised dance. There's no formula. I wish I could just say, hey, this is a formula. And even if you read every single sales strategy book out there, every single sales tip, you're going to see it boils down to the fact that it's uniquely different for every person. There's no if-then statement, at least from what I've learned. And I'm somebody who's doing $200,000 of sales a month. That's a pretty big number. That's a pretty heavy number to be doing those sales. And I see a lot of people, and if there was a formula, I would absolutely love to use it, but I don't have a formula. I'm not able to sort of create one. And the easiest way to say it is, like I said, it's kind of like jazz. It's different each time. Every time you talk to somebody, they want to engage in a different way. And the only way that you're going to do that, this is sort of 4B tip, is to be curious. People love to be asked about themselves. People's favorite word is their name. So be curious, learn about them, ask things that are maybe a little bit different, a little bit left field, that get them engaged, make them feel important and like you are listening to them. And that's really what's going to help clue you in with like what the close technique is, what the follow-up technique is, all of that sort of stuff. So I wish I had a silver bullet for that one, but I don't. Just know that each conversation is different, and you need to get as much information as you possibly can to understand how this dance is going. When they go left, you have to go left. When they go right, you have to go right. And like I said, it's different for everybody. I wish I could be like, everybody who wants a $20,000 table acts this way. They don't. Everybody who wants a $5,000 table acts this way. They don't. It's a very, very different game. Tip number 5, and I think maybe one of the most important ones. I had a private call with somebody about this. I've had numerous calls with people about this. You got to follow up. People feel like it's salesy, but I hate to say it, you're in sales. If you're trying to sell stuff, you're in sales. I didn't want to be seen as a salesperson. I don't consider myself a salesperson. I always thought it was yucky. I pictured used car sales, all that sort of stuff. But the number one tip that I have to say of all of these is to follow up. So many people will reach out to you. Maybe they're reaching out to multiple people at the same time. Maybe there are a whole number of sort of different custom table makers that they're reaching out to, which then goes back to topic number 1. And I want to be the first to reply to them. I want to be the first person to get to them when they're reaching out to multiple people. Sometimes they do that. They might send an email to 5 different people, text to 5 different people, call 5 different people. And what happens is they just get exhausted. They don't want to do it, or they put it down, they go on vacation, all that sort of stuff. It's just a simple follow-up. Are you still interested in that table we talked about? Are you still thinking about that? And I think trying to find different ways, a big sales tip that everyone always says is to not say, hey, I'm just following up or just checking in. Those kinds of things can work sometimes, but I always try to find a different way. And I don't have a formula. I don't have one word that I use or one phrase that I use, but I try to avoid those if possible. So if you are tempted to go in and write, hey, just following up, try to think of a different thing. Just like go back, bounce back, be like, okay, they talked about this. They talked about moving in April, or they're living in this area, blah, 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 blah. You could be like, hey, how do you like your new house in such and such place in Bozeman, Montana? Are you still thinking about that table? Or even just leaving it at a question like that, and they'll know that it's the follow-up. A lot of times, I was talking to my private client about this. I think probably 50% or to 60% of my sales are coming from the follow-up. They're not from an initial email. So I have a constant CRM, which brings you back to point number 2. You need to track these things so you can follow up, in the proper way. So 60% of my sales are coming from these follow-ups. I have a CRM, I have a thing that I'm writing it down with to know to follow back up with these people. All of these people, like I said, that 60% is coming from a bucket that I know, hey, these are my follow-up lists. Just this morning, I literally wrote out a list of people I need to follow up with today to hopefully close the deal. And you also know, you get a sense of how far along they are in the process and how often to do it. So you don't want to do the follow-up like, every day, every 24 hours. That gets annoying. So I do like, maybe every other day, and then I wait a week, and then sometimes I'll even go a month or 2 months, that kind of thing. But again, it's a dance. It's improvising. It's figuring it out. Some people are super engaged right away. Some people are not. So you have to feel out the best way to do it, but you're never going to get the sale if you don't follow up. I hate to say it, but that's the honest to God truth. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. I wanted to give you a little bit of a tactical one today. Again, I still left you with some open questions of how to follow up, how to do the dance, all that sort of stuff. There isn't a secret formula, but I hope this helps you in the sales process. I hope you close more and more people as this comes in. And again, if you are interested in joining the group, there's a link below. We've actually started a pretty cool thing. I talk a lot about books on this podcast. If you noticed, I'm a big reader. We've started a book club. So on August 13th, we're doing a session about the luxury strategy book, which I talk about all the time. And we're going to start doing that maybe every other month, where we kind of dive deep into a book that I recommend that we read together and kind of go over and do an overview. So if you're interested in that, that could also be another great reason to join the group. All right, with that said, everybody have a great week. It's been fun hanging out with you, or at least hanging out with myself in this room, and catch you next time. Peace.